Welcome to Andy's Garage. I'm Andy Phillips. Today I wanted to take time and just do a product review on one of these. They're known as universal sockets. This particular one here is actually the Gator brand. So it's called a Gator Grip socket, but now they're also known as universal sockets. Same difference, but let me get a close-up so I can show you exactly what we're talking about, and then we'll go ahead and get started with this product review. This is it up close, and you can see on mine right there, it says Gator Grip. It says Gator Grip, but like I said, there's some more generic ones now. They just call them universal sockets. And this is what it looks like. So it has all of these little rods in here. And the theory, how these are supposed to work, is that once the hex head of the socket or the bolt goes in, as you can push in right there, it will form around the shape. And it's supposed to get a good grip on it. And here's a close-up of actually putting a hex bolt head in there so you can see it. So as it would slide in, you can see how it locks in and it forms to that shape. But these are supposed to remove pretty much anything. Now, right here, this particular one says between 7 and 19 millimeters. So obviously, this outer socket is going to be your size. So you want to check for that. So anything within that range, this will take off, whether it's in good shape or stripped a little bit, and that's what we're going to test in this video. So now that I've kind of showed what exactly we're going to be talking about, let's go ahead and get started with this review. This is what the pack looks like when you get it as a set like I have, which is a 3/8 inch ratchet, and then the socket, I'll have a link down in the description where you can purchase it. And then they also have this one here, the King Gator, which is for a 1/2 inch ratchet. I'll have a link for that as well, and you can just buy the socket itself. Now this one here, because this is the original, so this is what the socket looks like. It gives you the sizes there, 1/4 inch to 3/4 or 7 millimeter to 19 millimeter. It says right there, Gator Grip by Endeavor, made in the USA. Some of the other universal ones are probably Chinese made, but this is the original. And then here's the actual ratchet that it comes with as well. So it has this ratchet as well, chrome. And then this is the socket here. You can see the mechanisms there going through, the little rods, and then right there. So I have this EGR delete plate right here that we're going to be removing. It has 2 nuts holding it down. They're torqued down pretty tight. I'm not sure off the top of my head the size of the nuts, so we're just going to use this Gator Grip universal socket and just put it on here and see what it can do. So let's go ahead and try that. Now this is just your regular socket size, so it'll fit on any ratchet. A lot of times it will come, like in the case here, this Gator one did come with its own ratchet, but it'll fit on any one. Just lock it on, and then we can, adjust it to tighten, or in this case, we're going to be loosening it. We'll come in here and just slide it right over. There we go. It actually fits really good over it. Let's see. Okay. It's taking it off. So let's see here how this one looks. Loosen that up very easy. Let's try the other one on the other side. Let's look at this one. So let me get a close up so you can see it going over it. And then you just push it all the way down. Okay. Loosen that up easy as well. Okay, so as we saw, it took it off very easy. Now, the good thing with this here, now considering these nuts were fine, not stripped or anything like that, so they came off fairly easy, but what I like is you're not having to try to find out, what's the, is it a 3/4 or a 10 millimeter? You're not trying to get the size. As long as it fits over this master socket, these little rods in there will fit around it and take it off. Like we saw, you just press it down, slides right over, and took it right off, no problem. Let's find something a little more challenging, and let's see how it does with that. Let's try this nut next. This is It's a locking nut, but let's see how this works with this. Slide it over it. Taking it off. Yep, it's loosening it up right here. You can see it's coming off right there. Completely loose. Now, they do claim that you can use this to remove lug nuts. However, you need to make sure that your lug nuts are not too big for this. So if we try here on this one, which is a Jeep Wrangler, you can barely even get it on here. The lug nuts are too big. Let's try another vehicle. Bringing it here. All right, that one, it's going over it. However, what you need to be careful of is because of the depth here, you don't want to just be grabbing a little piece of the lug nut. You want it to be fully covered by the socket. Otherwise, you're going to wind up stripping something. Let's try another vehicle. Now, this vehicle here has smaller lug nuts. We put it over it. You can see right there how it completely, because they're shallow. They're not as deep as some of the chrome ones. Fits right on here. Let's see. Boom. You can see how it's completely over it. What we're going to do is we're going to use a breaker bar. I'm not going to obviously use the ratchet it came with. We're going to put a breaker bar on this thing, and then let's see if we can take it off with this. I'm pretty sure it will, just because we're pretty much resting on the inside of the socket now, not relying strictly on these little rods. But let's put one on and see if we can take it off. Now, you want to make sure, if you are connecting it to a breaker bar like I am, that you use an impacting adapter here and not chrome, because that can break. And another thing to point out, because this has a maximum of 19 millimeter, it will fit a lot of lug nuts on vehicles. Now, some of the bigger SUVs and trucks, you're looking at 20 and 21 millimeter. Obviously, they won't work, but on cars, you should be able to do it. So let's put this here. Want it to go completely around it. There we go. There we go. Took it off. Loosened it off with no problem. There we go. And as mentioned already, I think part of the reason why it was such a success was because we were using the outer part of the socket itself and not relying on those the little rods in there to do it. But either way, it did good. And then let's see, put it back on. There we go. All right. So lug nuts, it definitely did the trick. And here's a close-up. So we have, this is a typical kind of a chrome lug nut here, kind of a standard size. And if we put it here, you'll see that's just a little too big, because this is a 20 millimeter, which is what you're going to run into a lot nowadays. We lucked out because a couple of the vehicles I have here are older vehicles, so they were 19 millimeter. But for the most part, and this came off of a compact car right here, and you can see if we try to line it up, cannot get it in. So just one thing to keep in mind. Another thing that they claim is if with like eye bolts and like these hooks, that you can remove them as well. If we look here, you'll see, now this one's a little bit bigger, unfortunately, so but I'll try to show you, but you can see how, let me get it close up. You can see how it will get right in there and locked in. See that? So it should take it off with no problems. I have a small hook right here. Let's get a close up of that and let's see if we can take it off. Here it is. So we're going to slide this down over it. And you want to always try to keep things centered. So it goes down over it. Let's see here. Loosen it with no problem. And if you want to tighten it, same thing, we're going to come down over it. Is on there tight. So this definitely does do well with like eye bolts and hooks like that, because as shown already, the way that it will lock in there and it just grips it like that, because these patterns will just form around it. Let's try something a little bit harder. We have the strut mounts, the nuts up here. Let's try to take one of these off with this universal Gator Grip socket and see what that does. And it's not stripped or anything, so we should get a good grip on that. So we'll slide it right over, and you really want to center it. So we'll slide it right down over the middle, push it down so it gets a good grip. This one's on pretty tight, so this will be a good test. All right, hold on. Let's see, nope. Let me center it a little bit better right here. Wow. That loosened it. Had a little bit of a struggle there at the beginning where it kind of slipped up, and I think it may be because of these little rods, they're kind of rounded. But either way, once we got it centered on better, and keep in mind I'm holding the camera, so if I had both hands, it might have gone off a little bit better. But now to put it back on, we'll center it right here. There we go. Now that needs to be torqued. This obviously is not a torque wrench, but either way, that tightened it very well. Put this thing back, popped off. But that was good. Let's try this one. This one's rounded a little bit, nothing major. It's not stripped, rounded a little bit. It is a smaller one. Let's see how this works with this one. Oh, okay, does it get it? No. Now that one is kind of smaller. We get a shot of it there. You can see it a little bit smaller. And as we already said, it is a little bit rounded. Let's see here again. Yeah, I can't get a grip on that one. Can't get a grip on that one. Let's try this one right here. No. Now it could be the size, because this does say for this particular socket that I'm using here, as we saw earlier, it does have on here 7 to 19 millimeter. That may be a little bit smaller. But then again, that one's also a little bit rounded too. Let's try this one here, see what that does. All right, that one, if you got a grip on it there. Okay. All right, so that one, it did loosen. Couldn't do this one, couldn't do this one, and they're all around the same size. Now, they are a little more rounded. It probably couldn't grip it too well. Now, one thing to keep in mind, even though this is a deep socket right here, a lot of it is for the mechanism, the socket itself cannot handle anything too deep. So if you have something with too long of a stud on it coming through, and let me show you, this is how deep it'll go down. Right there. So that's as far down as you can go. So if you have anything that has a stud coming through the middle, it's going to hit that. So you really need like a hex head like that, or like we saw earlier, with a nut that's just pretty much it, with not much of the stud coming through, and then you'll be fine. But anything deeper, this is not going to work. All right, well, that wraps up this product review. Just want to do a quick test with this. Wanted to show you what it's made of. As you can see, made in USA, looks very good quality. It's very heavy, nice chrome, locks in really good. As we saw with various nuts and bolts, takes them off no problem. When we ran into some here that were a little older, rusted ones, a little more rounded, it took out 1 out of 3. So 2 out of 3, it couldn't take off. They were smaller, as we said, but still, it was kind of slipping a little bit. I know that the claim to fame with this is that it'll fit over anything and take it off. As we saw, if the hex pattern is pretty tight and undamaged, even with the strut mount, took off that nut, and those are on pretty tight, so got it off with no problem. As mentioned already, what I like is you're not having to grab the actual socket or wrench size. You can just grab this universal one here, and it'll fit right over it, and 90% of the time, it's going to take it off with no issues. If you have one that's a little bit rounded, as we saw here, 1 out of 3, it got it off. So it all depends on how bad it is and also the size. If it was a little bigger, it might have worked. So on a scale of 1 to 10, to wrap up this product review, I'm actually going to give this an 8.5 because, like I said, only because it struggled a little bit with those rusted ones. But other than that, I think it works great. As mentioned already, it's well made. You can get these online. You can still find the Gator Grip, the real one like this, but there's other ones out there that are just called universal sockets that have the same kind of mechanism that this has with those little rods in there. So not bad to have on hand to add to your tool collection. But that wraps up this product review. I hope this was informative for you, kind of showed you what this thing can do. Please send me any questions and comments. I would love to hear from you, and I hope that this video was informative for you, and I'll see you next time.